A large number of school students protested in front of the Manipur Raj Bhavan in Imphal today against the government's decision to shut down educational institutions in the state because of escalating violence. The protest was held against the backdrop of recent drone and missile attacks in the Imphal Valley that killed 3 people. On this part of Left, Right and Centre, we'll be looking at the entry of armed drones in the conflict, its huge security implications. But first, a look at what the ground situation has been today.
Protesting youngsters, mostly students, tear-gassed in Imphal. This after a curfew was imposed in the state capital and the surrounding valley. Protesters have been demanding action against insurgents who carried out drone attacks last week.
So the governor has promised to us that in the very near future, he'll be threatening this with a positive response and do action. That was a promise given by the honorable governor. We have also mentioned very clearly about calling the 50 MLS to the governor's bungalow so that.
आज हम 11 मिलकर गवर्नर के पास गए थे उनसे बातचीत करने के लिए और उसने बताया कि हम लोग को पॉजिटिव रिस्पांस तो दिया था उन्हें, लेकिन उनने पेपर में भी नहीं दिया था कि ये 6 मेमोरेंडम से 8 तो एक्शन में मिलाने के लिए उनने पेपर में नहीं किया था.
Soon after, internet services in Manipur were banned in 5 districts in the valley for 5 days, amidst concerns that social media may be used to fan violence using viral images and hate speeches. Manipur police reached out to protesting youth to refrain from violence.
We appeal to them not to indulge in violence, because all that kind of things create unnecessary kind of problems.
Amidst the protests, Manipur police also debunked the charge of an ethnic divide in the force.
This Manipur police is composed of all kinds of communities, whether it is from the mainland, it is from the Kuki, it is from the Nagas, and it is from the Meitei.
On the probe front, Manipur government is considering an NIA probe into the drone attacks.
We will be most likely handing over these very important cases to national investigating agencies so that it can be done, it can be fully investigated. This will be done at the highest level, and we take it as extremely serious development.
Fresh violence has rocked Manipur in the past few days, with drone and rocket attacks by suspected insurgents, proving to be the trigger for the latest protests in Imphal. With Ratandeep Chaudhary, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Well, joining us now, General Gigi Dwivedi, the former General Officer Commanding of the Army in the Northeast, Hoino Hausel, a senior journalist, Suhas Chakma with us as well, and B.L. Vora, the former Director General of Police. Thank you all very much for being with us. General Dwivedi, firstly, from a security standpoint, how serious is the entry of drones into this conflict, into this battle, into the tension that we are seeing in Manipur?
Well, Vishnu, first and foremost, always a pleasure to be on the NDTV. So coming to your question on the drones as to what is the serious implication, we need to understand firstly the ground situation. Today, Manipur is absolutely on the boil, and it has been since last 16 months. But what is the ground situation today is very important to be understood. Today, 2 communities, that is Meitei and Kukis, they are almost in the war zone scenario. They have fortified their positions and they are well armed, because almost 4,000 arms are floating around with these insurgents or militants. Now they have been looking at how to escalate the situation further, or how to give a little more punch into whatever is going on. And you see, drones have come as a new dimension in this warfare. These drones are actually not that sophisticated. They are rudimentary drones, and having operated in these areas, well, they can be easily tackled. That's not the menace. But the point is, the 2 communities are today at each other's neck, and this has happened primarily because the government or the political agencies have been only doing crisis management, and they have not gone in for the political solution. And that has given them enough time to these insurgents and militants, because when I was commanding the division, there are about 4,000 of insurgents that were there of different groups, and Meitei groups are dominating. In fact, the Kuki groups were not as effective. Now, to sum it up, currently, what is at stake is two issues. One, internally. Internally, situation is very, very alarming. And secondly, Vishnu, the external dimension. Because today, Bangladesh is in very hostile, inimical country and very, very injurious to our interest. What is happening in Myanmar? There is total political turmoil and there is a civil war going on. And on top of that,
I'm not sure Bangladesh is an inimical country to our interests, sir. There is a particular situation there. I'm not sure it's related to Manipur.
No, what I meant to say currently, I'm telling, as of today, there are forces which are inimical. I won't say the country per se,
Right.
but there are certain forces.
In fact,
which
that
are
brings me to my
inimical
next
our
question,
interest.
sir. General, half a second. Mr. Vora, the worry is when you talk about the entry of drones into this particular situation, is there a worry that there could be an influence from China, from across our borders, which has brought in this technology? This is
I'm
not
not
something
able to
that...
hear you. Just
Can you go ahead, sir? Mr. Vora,
sorry.
can you hear me? We'll come back to Mr. Vora in a while, but let me go across to Suhas Chakma at this stage. Suhas, there's been so much violence which has been taking place of late and protests. Thousands of people from the Kuki tribe came out on the streets of Kangpokpi, which is the district headquarters. They protested the removal of armed forces, 2 units from there. But this was in fact a day after the CRPF thwarted an attack in that same area. If you look at the ground situation now, more than a year after this all began, how do you see it?
Well, I think the peace between the communities was never established from 3rd May last year till today. The government has not been able to bring even their own MLS on the same table. So it basically means that conflict has been continuing, though it might have subsided in between. And in new areas like in Jiribam, where both the communities are trying to consolidate their positions, some killings, obviously, ignited both the communities, and of course the use of the drones and the rockets had come up. I think what we have to bear in mind is that since October last year, the situation has changed. The situation has changed for one reason. From in October last year, the Brotherhood Alliance of the insurgents in Myanmar and the National Unity Government, they have launched full-fledged war against the junta. So junta has virtually collapsed in the provinces neighboring India. It doesn't exist. It has been overrun by the insurgents, and insurgents have access to sophisticated arms and ammunition, including drones, and drones have been used by the Arakan army almost 2 years back. So it's very natural that somebody is funding, providing the arms to the insurgent groups in Myanmar. So if they are being provided to the groups in Myanmar, when you have a failed state like Myanmar, it's very natural that they will immediately cross over into India, because communities live both sides of the borders, and insurgents would be willing to sell them if they get a higher price, because the drones could be delivered easily by the Chinese or any other company. I think what we need to bear in mind, in the last 78 years, we had a partner, or the government of India had a partner in Myanmar, that's the Myanmar junta. And today, if you go to Arakan province, 80% of the territories are controlled by the Arakan army. The only region which junta is controlling is the Situe town in the province. So we are not taking into consideration the developments in Myanmar, and it actually inspired lots of people that if government like Myanmar can fall apart, it can happen in anywhere else. Need not necessarily happen, but some people get this kind of ideas. And in fact, some of the things which I have seen in the social media today is that the Indian flags was brought down, then Seven Sisters flag was put up in Imphal, and some of the students saying if the students could protest and bring down the government in Bangladesh, why not in Manipur? So you could see that it is no longer an internal issue. I think it has become a national security issue, but the government of India is still looking at from a pure law and order situation where security forces are only given one responsibility. You somehow manage.
No,
so
I take your
peacekeeping
point.
is the mission.
I take your point completely. It has now got an external dimension perhaps to it. Thank you all very much for being with us.